Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. I'm Rob, this is Rich. We have come off 5 enthralling, challenging, engaging, scintillating, and something special. It's Test cricket. It's 5 days. People who don't understand cricket look at it and they don't get it, and you go, you've gone 5 days, you're 3-0 down, the series has already gone, but it's still continuing, but you've just drawn against the Aussies in Australia. Rich, how does that feel?
I'll be honest, it feels good. It feels good. And more so for Test cricket, because yes, it's a 5-day game. Yes, you know, all the rest of it, it's a match drawn. People from other parts of the world will be like, it's a draw. How can you get excited about a draw? But it goes down to the final ball. You've got one of the best batsmen in the world on the field going up against one of the best bowlers in the world, but the wrong way around. It's the bowler that's batting and the batsman that's bowling. And he's chucking pies down. Well, one pie. The last ball was a pie, wasn't it, as Jimmy Anderson said. But Steve Smith's bowling at James Anderson, and James Anderson's blocking him out, and he gets the draw. There's something remarkable, something special about that, and that's the magic of Test cricket. I'm not going to get excited about England drawing a game of cricket in Australia after losing 3 really badly. It's probably, if you looked at the results, it probably should be 6-0 to Australia.
Yeah.
You know, that's how big those defeats or wins were, which depends on your perspective. But it's really, really good to see this England team turn it around, stop the slide, get the draw, and just show some proper. Go on, boy. You know, that's something.
Yeah, I called Johnny Bairstow Johnny Grapefruits during the Test match, and I feel like this England team have strapped on a pair, to use a club cricket analogy. Yeah, strap on a pair, son.
A pants, you mean?
But the big question is, do you feel optimistic?
I feel much more optimistic. It's really, more than anything, I'm not really looking at it in those sort of, I'm generally an optimistic cricket fan or optimistic sports fan. I don't really understand why people love sport and follow sport if you're going to be pessimistic all the time. There's no enjoyment for me. You're almost hoping for things to go badly. Doesn't make sense. So I don't want to look at it in that way at the moment, but I'm really pleased for individuals. I'm pleased for people that have, you know, Jimmy, we'll get into all of it, but Jimmy Anderson was talking on the tail enders thing just very, very soon after the game. And he was talking about how, you know, let's not get carried away with this, but it's if they'd have had a bit more preparation. He wasn't looking for excuses, but the preparation was awful. The World Cup was in its way. The white ball was in its way. There was nothing they could really do with that. They got to Australia. If they could have come over here and played a couple of first-class games and then got into the series, who knows where it would have been. It feels like they've had 3 warm-up games, and this is the first test that England have finally started playing. That is no excuse at all. We were horrific and we should have been way, way better in those test matches. But it just points, doesn't it? If we could have had a bit more time, who knows? But it's great to see people like Zak Crawley do well. We've been critical of him, and I think rightly so. But he's a young guy who is learning his game still. He didn't deserve to be in the test arena the last year, learning his game. But he's come back and he's shown what he can be. You know, the last time he got anywhere near this score was when he got his 267 against Pakistan. It was great to see some of that. You know, that's the outlier, isn't it? He needs more of these scores. He's got himself an opportunity now, more than anything, because nobody else at the top of the order wants to play for England, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. Score some runs, you'll have a career, son. I'm glad you say you're optimistic, because in the 4th Test preview, I sat here by myself, missing you, and deeply saddened by that. But you know, in my crying tears, I saw optimism, and I made a bold call that 2020 is going to be England's year. 2021 was a fluke of a year. We played New Zealand, the best team in the world, India, the best team in the world. We played Australia and Australia. But when we toured Sri Lanka, everyone said we're not that bad a team. As soon as we played the top 3 nations in the world, in India, in Australia, and a couple of times in England for India and New Zealand, we're a really bad team. And that's okay to be bad, because you're playing against the best teams. And that just means you're a floater, mate. You're just in the middle of the pack. You'll beat Sri Lankas. You'll beat West Indies, but you'll lose to Australia and India. And that's okay. That's just where we are. But Victorious Rufus 6 days ago said, What is there to be optimistic about when the horse has already bolted? Well, Johnny Grapefruits showed you exactly what there's plenty to be optimistic about, a wealth of bulge going on there. It's a ridiculous assessment and wishful thinking. Lost the Ashes. What are you on about, you plonker, is essentially what we're going to. But it's a new year. It's a new me. I'm going to lose 5 kilograms this year, I tell you. And this England team on day one we got rain. They showed me something to be optimistic about. And throughout the whole test match, they showed me more. People have shown me more. Players have shown me more.
Yeah. I think the important thing, there's two important things to take from this. One is the use of the word plonker. Big fan of plonker.
I love that.
It's one of those, it's like a polite abusive term, isn't it? It's like if you'd have said another word, it's like you sometimes write an email and people misinterpret it and stuff and whatever. We've all been there. But it's the same on social media, isn't it? You can try and say something and be a bit like you idiot, but don't want to be too harsh. Plonk is a lovely word. It's a great choice. Yeah,
I liked it. It was polite, but to the point. It was good.
I feel like we need to get Rob a t-shirt.
I feel that's my thing. And I think I tweeted about it 8 times during the test match saying, hey, plonker here.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'll take from that is cricket is, yes, this series has gone. Absolutely. It is. The horse is well and truly up the road. And we
didn't even know we had a horse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Got rained off.
Open the gate, horse ran away. Oh, wow. Where'd that come from? So, look, England lost the series, yes. But Test cricket, every single test, no matter what's happening in that particular series, every single test is working towards the next test. So we, 3 tests down, it's been horrific, but with 4th test, we've got optimism. You have to have optimism because you have to go. You're not just going to roll over and be bowled out for 50 in 4 innings and that's it, and you fly home. You may as well just go home after the 3rd test. Get the old COVID outbreak, which just as an aside, any other series going on in the world, if there was a COVID outbreak in the camp like there was for England, yes, they've got round this. But if it was any other series in the world, if England were anywhere else or playing anyone else, they would have been home by now. Yep. So let's just get out of the way. Money talks. This series is massive. It's the same as if it was England, India. If the two, if the two governing bodies wanted these test series to go ahead, it doesn't matter how many COVID cases there are. They'd make sure this finishes for the TV revenues and all the rest of it. So that's that. But yeah, you've got to have optimism. You've got to look ahead because we need openers. We need to know what's happening at 3. We need to know what's happening at 6. Johnny Bairstow is 27th recall. I'm just throwing that number out there, but it could be probably about his 27th recall in Test cricket. We need to know what these people are doing. Broad Anderson, the way Broad's been treated on this tour, you start hearing talks about, is he going to be around by the summer? You've got to use this guy, and he comes in and he gets himself 5 wickets in the first inning. Zak Crawley scores runs. Bairstow gets himself 100. That's why you need to look at a test. No matter what's gone before, you need to look at the next test and go, right, let's have a bit of optimism. What can we get out of this next one? And where are we taking it to? We're taking it to the 5th test. We're taking it to the next test match, whenever that is, wherever that is, next summer. So you've got to have that little bit of optimism. Actually, West Indies, isn't it? We got
West Indies coming up. Yep. Great segue to Broady, who's my first point of topic. So Australia bat first, right? And it's rain affected, and they bat through to about an hour, 5 overs before the end of day 2. 416 for 8 declared. Stuart Broad's back in the team for Ollie Robinson. We've got this huge rotation thing going where Jimmy's played 3, Broady's now played 3, Robinson's played 3, Wood's played 3. It's like, what happened to the cricketer that was able to play 5 test matches? I don't know what's happened to them. Yeah. But Broady comes in, takes 5 wickets. Question being, are we a better test match team and a more dangerous test match team when Stuart Broad is in that starting 11, regardless of who's available?
100%. We spoke about this before. When we spoke about this, I can't remember which test it was really, but of this series, he is the guy that can get, when he gets his tail up, when he gets going and when he gets on a run, he can take wickets. He'll take multiple wickets. I love Mark Wood, honestly. I know I don't necessarily always come across as if I love Mark Wood, but I love Mark Wood, and I think I understand exactly why he's in the setup. Obviously, at the moment, he's the only pace man available. Everyone else is broken and made of plasticine.
To be fair, he's bowling bloody well.
He is, and he's not getting the... Exactly, but that's the thing, and that's the point I've always made with him. It's not just it's a long track record. He doesn't take a lot of wickets in Test cricket. But for what he does, obviously, you could say he's helping the likes of Broad and Anderson, obviously. But no, Broad is the only player we've still got that can run through a team, in my opinion. Ollie Robinson's done brilliantly since he came into Test cricket, but he'll slow down. As good as a player and a bowler he is, Test cricket, Test nations, they get caught up. They start understanding where you're bowling, what you're doing, what your variations are, and all the rest of it. And they'll work out strategies and plans to counteract that. So Robinson is now hitting that point. Not to say he's done anything wrong in this series. He's been brilliant, but he's going to hit that point soon where he's going to have to find, how do I just tweak my game a little bit to counteract everybody catching up with what I do?
Yeah.
So he's there, but Broad is still doing it. And yes, he might not do it every single test, but he's that match winner, isn't he? If you want to use a football term, he's the guy that can go and win you a game. The cultured number 10, if you like, that we don't always want to see in the team because he doesn't tackle back enough. Stupid English football mentality. You need your player that can go and win a game, and Stuart Broad can do that. Keep him, look after him, keep him going as long as we can.
Yeah, he's the finest number 10 we've had since Callum Camps at Rochdale, mate. He's a class act. But you're right, he is. He does those amazing things. He bowls those amazing spells. Probably the last one was, I think it was the Wanderers 6 for 17 against South Africa a few years ago. And we're a better team with him. But shout out to Ollie Robinson, who 37 wickets into his Test career has got the 14th all-time average for an English bowler during that time. So they're pretty good. Now, before this Test match as well, I made a call, just sticking on England, about Johnny Bairstow. And I like Johnny Bairstow, and I think he's the finest white ball cricketer going around for England for many a year now. 2016, he scored 1,470 Test match runs. Since then, he's been very poor, averaged less than 30.45 every single year that he's been involved, came back into the team in 2019. And I said, I wouldn't have picked him for this game. There's a reason I'm not on the selection panel, if there is a panel, or whoever's making the calls these days with Silverwood being in COVID protocols. But Johnny Grapefruits, Johnny takes on the crowd Grapefruits and goes, yeah, walk away, piss weak. He's had stock rising. Has he booked himself another year of Test cricket? And you know how we talk about him being sneaky old? He's sneaky 100 Test matches for England. He's probably 2 years away from that.
Yeah, 80 Test matches, I think now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just having a quick look here. Yeah, 80 Test matches, averaging nearly 35. I'm going to round it up for him. Yeah, I mean, how many times is forget about our opinions of whether or not we should move on from the Johnny Bairstow experiment or not. We can't forget his track record. He's been up and down. He would be in the team all the time if he was consistent, and he hasn't been consistent. He's been unfortunate on occasions, and I don't think he's been treated particularly well. He's batted anywhere from probably 2 all the way through to 7, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Who knows? He might have even batted at 8 at one point. I doubt it, but anyway, whatever. He's done really well. I mean, this 100 was fantastic. It was about on the anniversary, I think, of his dad passing away.
Yeah, Test match started on the day, I think.
Yeah, there was Johnny's 100. Match started on the anniversary. That's right. Yeah, and he does divide opinion, I think, doesn't he? But he's come in and he's done exactly what we wanted. This series, we went out there with a bit of a plan. Ollie Pope is going to be number 6. Brilliant. He's going to go and establish himself. Ollie Pope has not done that yet. He did really well. He's come in and showed the character. He came in and took the gloves. Man after my own heart. Used to love doing that. Bit of club cricket. Yes, the keeper's injured. I'll take him. Once a year, you get the gloves on. Love it. Or when you tried to kill a young wicketkeeper by bowling a bouncer that he takes his throat, which I remember. Pedro.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was a good wicket to bowl on that day.
That was, yeah. But anyway, I dive what I'm saying. But yeah, Bairstow, fantastic. I love the fact he's come back in. He showed what we needed. This Test side needed minerals, didn't it? It needed grit, needed determination, needed a bit of Dean Elgar. Yeah. And Bairstow showed that. The fact that he's come back in and he played fluently. And not only that, I honestly think he's had a huge impact on the way Zak Crawley played in the second innings. Crawley could just stand there and try and survive and do whatever he's doing and keep nicking off. But Crawley batted himself into some really, really good nick. If he was up there, he was going. If it was short, he was properly going after it. Bairstow's mentality, I think, went through that dressing room. He's a real fighter, isn't he? He's got that mentality about him. So he really helped. And yes, I think he's not established himself, but he will remain around the setup. There are big question marks over people like Josh Butler, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think Bairstow is going to keep his place in the team.
Yeah.
There is an argument when we start looking ahead to the next Test, if you wanted to tweak things around a little bit, there's one person at the top of the order that we're huge fans of, that if you don't give him the 5th Test, you maybe slot Bairstow, but I don't think that would be fair on Bairstow.
Yeah, we'll touch on that shortly. Hameed's on my hit list of what did I call my hit list? What next for? But
so catchy.
I just want to throw a few things at Bairstow. Hardest man in an England shirt. I appreciated the positivity that him and Ben Stokes brought to that first innings. 294. Yeah. We almost made 300 in Australia. So again, another reason to be optimism. We failed at something else, but we failed by just a little bit. But his 113 came off 158 balls, 3 sixes, 8 boundaries, mate. He went around it in a really positive manner. He mashed up his thumb off one that rose off him, and he still kept going, and he picked a fight in the crowd. Is he the hardest man in an England shirt going on that pitch, or is it Ben Stokes? Because I've seen Ben Stokes' right hook, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, I think Ben Stokes Bairstow would be a good pay-per-view, wouldn't it? I'm not going to pick a man out of those two. I reckon Wood's a nice guy, but I reckon if you turned Wood the right way, I think he could go.
So. He's got a bit of dog in him.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. It was fantastic, wasn't it, seeing those two go together as well? Because Stokes has had a bit of a slow tour.
Yeah,
it took him longer than you expected to get into things. So I'm really pleased that he's come back. And I did love the, I shouldn't say I love the fact, but, the grit that, every time he played a shot with his side strain.
Yeah, I appreciated that. He's fighting the good fight. He's taking one for the team. He's a leader. And it's just overmined their body, which is what has really been missing from this England lineup for quite a while. This is it. This moment on the pitch is the most important moment for everyone sat in England at the moment, and I'm representing them. And they've got to, ship me off on a body bag. Otherwise, you're not getting me out. And I'm just going to keep doing everything I can to be here and represent the country. So I thought they did really well, but overall, England first innings, very, very disappointing. It does feel a good point to touch on Hameed, because I can't let that first innings drive go. And there's been, memes going around on Twitter. He played a front foot drive off Mitchell Starc. Yeah. Starc doesn't swing it back in a lot. He did swing it back in, but he didn't just miss the ball. There wasn't just a gap. I'm looking at my laptop here and thinking that could have just fitted through the gap. It was, I don't know. It feels like the moment's so big now and there's so much pressure. There's been fails. Can he come back?
I don't see why he can't. I think, I've been really disappointed with how he's done things. He will be even more disappointed, obviously. Yeah. First innings, he wasn't committing to his front foot, was he? It's simple as that. It was a basic technical flaw. He just wasn't committing. That drive, if he gets his foot across to the pitch of the ball, he's probably putting that straight back down the ground. But he's playing just huge, just the left foot's going nowhere as he plays that shot. So he's going to get in trouble. And when he does get in trouble, it's going to look a million times worse than it would have done if he'd have got his foot there and just played round one.
Yeah.
He's struggling, really is struggling. But the big question for me is every single opener of late has had well in excess of the amount of games they should have had. Sibley, Burns, etc. And those before as well. Now, Haseeb Hameed had a couple of tests or whatever it was in the summer, and he's had 4 tests so far in this one. 6 or 7 tests in a row, unless I'm completely mistaken something.
Yeah.
Give him this last test. And if it doesn't work, we send him back to county cricket and we hope he can come back again. Now, there is an argument to say he maybe was picked a little bit early. Yep. He's in his rehabilitation, obviously at Notts after it all went very, very south after his international career started, Lancashire, etc. He started to do really, really well at Notts this year, but it's only really 1 year of record. The year before he did okay. Maybe it was a little bit early. We hadn't seen him go on and make those big scores, had we, those consistent hundreds. So maybe that's what we needed to see. Maybe another summer of Haseeb Hameed still going strong.
Still learning.
So at least we have somebody, in my opinion, he's 24. He's going to turn 25 soon. In my opinion, we've got somebody there on the back burner. If he doesn't do it in this 5th test, we've got someone on the back burner who can go back to county cricket, score runs, and he's somebody we honestly, viably can bring back in. There are some of these openers, you Adam Lives, etc., the others, they're the wrong side of age. I don't want to keep looking back. We need to keep looking forward. And Hameed is part of the future of this England setup. Just because it's not gone right this time doesn't mean it won't. And let's just be clear as well. His technique of low hands, he can't play in Australia, is nothing to do why he's been a lack of success, in my opinion, over there. He's not left as well as we know he can do. He's not lined the ball up on the stumps well enough, and he's just found it very difficult. This has not been an easy track either. We're talking about broken digits for a number of players. Number of times people are getting hit on the gloves and all the rest of it. It's in your mind as a batsman, isn't it? If the pitch has got some monkey in it. So it's a really, really bad tour for him. Second innings, just jumping ahead. He battered time, didn't he? He battered time on the first evening, and he didn't last a long, long time. But 58 balls he batted for his 9 when we are looking for the draw. So he did occupy the crease a little bit. But if they drop him, I can understand why they did, but I also think it'd be very, very unfair. And who are you going back to? You're either going to put Bairstow up there, which I think is wrong. Leave Bairstow at 6 because that should be his spot going forward. I think that really solidifies the middle order. Stokes at 5, Bairstow at 6, and a wicket keeper at 7. I say a wicket keeper. Let's see who it is. Are you going to go back to Burns? Well, so in a week, has Burns sorted out his technical issues? Does he suddenly deserve another opportunity? If he goes back in the team with the same technique and he scores 50, does that mean he's the opener for the next summer? We can't do that. Give Hameed one more test, and then we take it through to the next series and then the summer.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. They gave Lyth 5 test matches. He averaged 10, 11. This is really poor. Hameed in his last 3 tests has gone 6, 0, 0, 7, 6, 9. He's a walking telephone box. His record, actually, since he's come back into Test cricket, comparing it to Dom Sibley's, talking 2019 onwards, Sibley averages more, and he's got a higher strike rate. And they're not. And I keep coming back to it with this England team. Not everything is like for like. And that's the credit I'm going to give Zak Crawley as well when he says he averaged 10 last year and the numbers don't tell the story. He played against New Zealand. He played against India in India. And now he's played some cricket in Australia. Haseeb Hameed has played against India, who are the best team in the world at cross format. They've just turned up. They can play anywhere. They've got depth. They're great. They beat England at home. Well done to them. They also beat Australia in Australia. And they've just been smashed by Australia in Australia, where we haven't won a test match in 12 years. So not everything is like for like. I'll give him one more test match. But my optimism from being a plonker fades to more of a realist going, it's probably just the wrong time. Maybe the wrong guy to call up. And you know what? You've tried it. It's not worked. He's 25. There's plenty of time to get better at cricket.
But this comes back to the squad, the way the squad was built. We've said at the time, I can't believe they didn't bring another opener in. I mean, Crawley, I wasn't convinced that he was going to be an opener. Whether he's going to be 3, he ends up at 5, I don't know. But he's shown in that second innings that he's got something about him. Let's hope it's not just a one-off. I'm sure, we'll see more from him. But there should have been, in my opinion, another batsman that can bat at 1, 2, or 3 in this lineup. Don't give me Johnny Bairstow. Bairstow should not be opening in Test cricket. This is where he should be. Middle order, 5, 6. Excuse me. So there should have been another opener, because now we're at that point that if you decide Hameed is, he for his own benefit, he needs taken out, go back to county cricket, and we'll take it again in the future. There should have been a Rob Yates here. There should have been an Alex Lees. There should have been somebody else in this squad in case Burns or Hameed failed. And let's be honest, at the start of this series, Burns was already getting very, very close to his last chance. Hameed hadn't quite solidified his spot. So we had 2 question marks. So why did we not have 2 players in the squad? Dan Lawrence, no disrespect to Dan Lawrence, but he's been carrying drinks and having a fine old time of things in Australia. I hope he's had a nice swim, done all those nice things. We've not seen him on the field. What was the point in having yet another middle order player when the issues were in the top 3? Malan, we didn't know how Malan would do. Malan is somebody I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. The squad was not built correctly. I'm not going to go into the, we can't, the whole big argument of whether or not the county cricket's to blame or pitches are to blame, groundsmen, or anything else. I'm not saying we should have completely picked a different squad, but there should have been another player in the squad who can bat in that top 3 over a middle order player. Totally
agree, mate. Totally agree. While we're on that England innings, 294, Scotty Boland, 4 for 36.
Scotty!
The man keeps taking wickets. 1 for 48 and 6 for 7 in his first test match. 4 for 36 here and 3 for 30 in the second inning. He's got 14 wickets in his test career at 8.64. That means out of everyone that has taken at least 14 wickets in test cricket, he has the best bowling average of all time.
So he's the best bowler ever. That's what he says.
Best bowler ever. But ultimately,
I love it.
He might play this series and never play another series.
For real, yeah.
It's the ultimate selection. I think we did it with. Did we do it well with Stephen Kirby, or was his name Kirby?
No. He never played Test.
Slingy sort of action. He got 5 for. I'm sure Bicknell came in once, got some wickets.
I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. I don't remember that actually, because I know Kirby you're talking about, but I didn't remember if he played cricket. But for England, but I'm trying to think who our player could be. I mean, Darren Stevens is a little bit of the other side of this, but who is the England player? Who's our
Darren Pattinson?
No. We've got more chance of what's his name, the other Pattinson, coming over to England and playing for England.
Yeah. Can we have the good brother, please? I'm sure people used to say that about me as well. Can we have the better cricketer, please?
Yeah. Look, I mean, Michael Neser was a great story early on in this series. That was a nice story. He came in, made his debut, got wickets, scored some runs, real quick, good knock as well, wasn't it, from him? But Boland has come in and it's just been sensational. I just want to like go and spend 20 minutes with him just chatting at the moment, just to find out how he feels, because he must be just every single moment of his life. He just must be waking up, just pinging out of bed, just everything. You know, he's probably got his own little theme tune as he goes around at the moment. And he's just having the best of times, isn't he? Hopefully he'll play this last test. I'm sure he will. There is a bit of a question mark, isn't there, of whether or not they'll, Neser or Jai Richardson might come in. Maybe the rest Stark, but Boland's going to play again.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best stories for a long time in Test cricket.
Yeah. It shows the depth in Australian cricket that goes under the radar, because they've had a series without Hazelwood other than the first test.
Yeah.
And they've had Neser come in and do all right. Jai Richardson got a 5 and Scotty Boland's come on and subsequently won them a test match pretty much with that performance in the third test. So they've just got depth. And how would we feel? Like, we bring people in who haven't played test cricket. There's not many that come in and have this sort of impact. If I look back to England, who came in and immediately made an impact? KP did. I'm going to mention him on the podcast. Jonathan Trott did. He came in, scored 100, and then he was solidified for many years as the best one of the best number 3s in world cricket.
Yeah,
there's not many guys that do it. Alistair Cook came in and did it. Andrew Strauss came in and did it. But there's so few and far between.
But also, look at all the names you've just mentioned. None of them are recent. None of them.
No, they're not actually.
I think you could probably say Jofra came in and did well straight off. I think Ollie Robinson, I think has done well. But yeah, you are struggling after that. There is nobody else that's come in. I mean, obviously batting, we don't even need to think about batting unless you're going back to Root and others. Nobody. Bowling, a couple of bowlers there of recent times that have done well. You've had the odd player that's come in and done okay for the odd test. Yeah. You know, Overton did okay in the summer, but nobody else. Not
different level. No one else has come in and took 14 wickets and averaged 8 in the test career.
Ever.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah. In fact, minor point on Jofra Archer. Marnus Labuschagne was doing a Q&A on Twitter, and someone said, "Who's the best bowlers that you faced?" He said, Pat Cummins, Ravi Ashwin, and Jofra Archer are the 3 best bowlers he's ever faced.
Jeez, we've missed him.
Yeah, we
really have. I know Ollie Stones gets dragged in that conversation as well when we're talking about quicks, but Stone hasn't established himself anywhere near. Nah. We have missed Jofra so much in this series.
Yeah, we have, mate. He's world class. Talking of world class, Aussie's back again, 265 for 5 declared, possibly a little bit late on the declaration, but Usman Khawaja, another 100.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about his first innings, did we? He's come back in the team. He's a strange character, isn't he? Because I think he's divides opinion over in Australia. I mean, I remember, I'm not going to go back into the old, 2010-11, but he made his debut at the SCG, which I believe is the last time England won in Australia in 2011, when we clinched the series, clinched the Ashes win with a 3-1. But Khawaja was this little, cute little left-hander, nice little batsman, something different for Australia. Obviously, good to see somebody from a different background playing as well. And you could see, obviously the way he plays technically, he's a very different style of player to some of these other guys. Beautiful to watch. He's been in and out. He's been a very English career in some ways, hasn't he? Yeah. For Khawaja. But he seems to have got more and more support around the setup and around the nation and the fan base. I believe he's been doing some YouTube stuff as well, like doing some Q&As, and people have got to know who Khawaja is. And I think as well, they got to know him a little bit through the documentary they did with Australia, where he was questioning the coaches and just showing that personality that he's got. And he just seems such a well-liked guy. 137 in the first innings, and then he follows that up, doesn't he, with 101. Is it 101 he got?
101 not out, yeah. 138 balls as well. The fluency was incredible.
A man that knows his game. He's come back in, hasn't he? He's found his way. And this is what maybe Bairstow, we're about to hit this run for Bairstow as well, let's hope. But Khawaja has come in, he's took his chance, and it's been fantastic. To be fair, not much has gone wrong for Australia. You pick a guy who's a little bit 50-50, and he comes in and hits you 200s in a test match. And Australia now are ridiculously, there is a question mark on whether Khawaja will play in the 5th test, because Travis Head will be back from COVID, and he's back in and available. So if he does come back in, does Khawaja get dropped? Even Khawaja's thinking he's probably not going to play the 5th test.
That's
just
a little
bit
ridiculous,
It's farcical, mate. Farcical. They're not
that
good, Aussies.
It's so funny. And for all the data analysts and all these things, all these people with numbers that look around world cricket and they go, Khawaja, 35 now, he's not played Test cricket for 2 years. He did all right in first class cricket this year. He got 174 against South Australia, 119 against Tassie, but he scored 11 and 5 against the England Lions. So, you know what? He might not do all that, but first guy to score 200s in an innings since 2019 when Rohit Sharma did it. And then this one really got me. And this is players with 10 Test centuries since 2015. Now, it's sorted by innings per 100. So Steve Smith in that time has scored 20 centuries and he's scored 100 every 4.75 innings. That's very good. Kane Williamson is number 2 with 5.06. Virat Kohli, 6.06. But Usman Khawaja's 10 centuries since 2015 is at the 4th best rate of 6.2 innings per 100. And that's a guy that got dropped for 2 years.
Wow. He would be in the Hall of Fame in England if we'd have had him over that spell.
Yeah, I might even have held him above KP at some point, but that's not today. Now, the question is, does he play the 5th Test match? I guess the big question for world cricket they want to know is, surely he's booked himself on a plane. Australia are touring Pakistan. That's going ahead. Never say never, but that is going ahead. Surely the best story in cricket this year is going to be Uzi going back to Pakistan and playing for Australia against the country of his birth. That must be very, very special.
He has to. I mean, there's no question in my mind that he's going to be in the squad. Simple as that. He has to. If he's not, then Australia are missing something. Yeah. He has to play in the next Test as well. Look, if Travis Head comes back in, that's fine. You've got an obvious position. Marcus Harris has done okay as the series has developed, but there's your obvious one. I'm sorry, if Khawaja comes in and he does okay, then it's fine. Travis Head comes back in, we move on. No, nothing changes. But what he's done here, it would be absolutely ludicrous for them to drop Khawaja. It's the best. It's probably the thing that England would want the most is that them to drop Khawaja after the way he's played in this last Test match. Yeah. So for me, I mean, Pat Cummins has said, look, I'm not a selector, but the guy, I'm mega paraphrasing here, but the guy, he's game, he knows his game inside out here. He's just scored 200s. How can you overlook him? How can you look past him? And they were saying as well that he was in the squad as cover for anywhere from 1 to 6. So that's telling comment, that is, to me, basically saying, sorry, Marcus Harris, you've done pretty well. You've not had the worst series. You've certainly not had an England opener series, but you've not had a great series. So you're going to miss the last Test. Khawaja's going to open up with Warner. Head comes back in.
I think that's fair enough. Harris has been given a long length of string. He averages 25. He's been pretty poor during this series for the first couple of Tests. And you are right. He has got better the more the series is going on. He showed a bit of grit, a bit of determination, got himself in a couple of times. But Khawaja's opened the batting and scored 100 in Test cricket. He spent a huge proportion of his career at number 3 and scored hundreds. He's now scored hundreds batting at 5 in the order. Like, the versatility to have a guy who's good at playing spin and seam, that's massively important. England have only bowling Jack Leach, which is left arm spin coming back into him, which is absolutely milking. Just an absolute reward for this Australian fans to be able to watch it. And 200s in a Test is special. And I think everyone that watched that second innings went, wow, that guy can play. And the first innings, I think everyone went, like, there was a scene on Twitter, and it showed his family in the crowd and him hitting the 100. And just the ovation from the family, the ovation from him. And he was saying he's normally really serious when he scores 100, but this, he just couldn't help but smile and enjoy the moment. Yeah. Life's changed. You've got kids, you've got a wife. Like, it was just a special moment. And I think sometimes in England, Australian rivalries, sometimes those things can be overlooked of what it might mean to the other guy. And I look at it, I'm like, this great. This might be, it might end up being one of my favorite moments of 2022. I'm being optimistic that it's already peaked.
Well, pessimistic. But it was a hell of a moment, and it was great to see him do it. And he seems like a good guy. And when you see people, instead of the seriousness and, as much as I enjoyed the jumping and the fist bumping and whatever Bairstow, that was great. That was the other extreme. But sometimes you just love to see a guy looking like he's happy.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that was brilliant. Smiles. It's great. It cracks a character, doesn't it? You can see through and you can see the joy in somebody, and you must be nearly dead inside if you can't appreciate that moment and what he's done. I know you've kind of set a few things you want to talk about, but as we're looking at this batting card in the second innings, I just want to ask about Cameron Green, 74 in this innings. 22-year-old guy. We didn't really know much about him at the start of this series. Big unit, pretty good catcher and slip, pretty good bowler. Whether or not he means all these Yorkers that you're getting wickets with, but how have you been impressed with him? I mean, I think he's done pretty well.
Yeah, his batting has come under some stick in Australia, particularly early doors when they found him out a little bit, and he's tweaked up his technique. He's got 233 not out. He had a duck thrown in 17-5 and the 74. It's interesting, his 33 not out and his 74 have both come when Australia's been really, really ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So
bit of freedom.
For him to bat at 6, he's going to have to get better. But I think what this Australian team is going to give him time, because they see so much value in, and they've never really had a Flintoff of both them. Just or a Ben Stokes, just a character that's good enough to be an all-rounder and is good enough to bat in the top 6.
I mean, they always had it with keepers, didn't they? Obviously, the Gilchrist recreated what we thought wicket keepers to be. Thanks, Gilchrist. That's what knackered Chris Reed's career, basically. I blame Adam Gilchrist for Chris Reed. I'll keep mentioning it. But yeah, I think he just looks a player, doesn't he? That's the thing. He might not have quite performed to the standards maybe they want him to going forward, but with the ball, he looks like he can offer a threat. I joke about the Yorker. He looks
great with the ball. He looks really talented. Yeah,
solid. Yeah, so it's a good, strong action, good, strong guy. Oh, he got Crawley, didn't he? That's what we're talking about. That 77. Just got to note, actually, apologies to anybody. I basically was staying up watching the cricket, and Crawley was going great guns. And it was like, right, I'm off to bed in a minute. Don't want to curse him, but he is batting a million times better. Hopefully, he goes on and gets his 100, and then who knows? Yep. By the time I get upstairs, I've turned the telly off. By the time I walk upstairs, about to get in bed, Rob's put a message through, Rich, Crawley's out. So within a minute of me doing that, he's gone. So apologies to everybody.
You know the rule, mate. When you're doing well, you don't move.
I know. I thought I could sneak away. I didn't realise England had known that I moved. I'd changed seats. So apologies for that. But yeah, it's funny because I know Anderson joked about Cam Green did not mean to bowl that Yorker. I've seen people saying, oh, he's Crawley's batted well, but he's got that issue, hasn't he? Yeah, he's worked him out. He fired one into his feet. And then Anderson's going, he never meant that. That was an accidental Yorker. So who knew? Who deserves the credit? Who knows? But yeah, I've been quietly impressed with him. He looks, there's a cricketer there. Good young player. Stick with him.
Yeah.
Few question marks around the Australian batting lineup. Maybe, is Carey the answer at keeper? Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
He's done okay.
I think Mark Wood deserves a shout out for just effort. Incredible effort, incredible speed, incredible heart. Jack Leach, 4 for 84. And he's on my list going...
He's arrived.
What happened? Well, it says, what next for Jack Leach? And I say it just like Jack Leach. 1 for 102, then gets dropped. 1 for 46, none for 89, 4 for 84. His record isn't great. It's not great this series. It's not great overall. He averages a lot. 52.41 with the ball in the first innings of test matches, but 20 in the second innings. And he's been horses for courses selected on pitches generally that's really suited him. Is that why? That first innings thing where he's just not that great, and his economy rate's 3.3 as well. It's not like he's offering you a great deal of control. We've seen really negative, just bowl at his legs and have 6 men out. We haven't got faith in him.
No, I mean, it's clear the setup don't have faith in him. That's it comes through, doesn't it? So we've seen it so many times over the years when you can tell a squad or a captain or whatever doesn't have as much faith in a bowler as you'd like them to have. Jack Leach, he's not grabbing the opportunity. There are mitigating circumstances. He's had a lack of cricket over the last year, especially at international level. The way he's been selected in this series is baffling, quite simply, isn't it? That he played in games he shouldn't have done, and then he didn't play in games he should have. So there's a lot to be said about all of that. We are in a position, aren't we? As much as I like Jack Leach, and as much as I like to see a bespeckled spinner, trying to save a game and all the rest of it, you can't question his character. But we are looking for the next swan, aren't we? We're looking for the next spinner, and we haven't got him. We are in that holding pattern at the moment with spin bowlers. whether a Parkinson comes through, a Verdi or a Jack Carson from Sussex or somebody like that, we're looking for that next spinner. Don Bess, even, I shouldn't dismiss Don Bess. It's just not there with him at the moment, is he? He's doing okay, but it's not what you need, especially not in Australia. So I'm not going to go too far on him. I don't know what's next for him. I think they'll retain him around the setup.
Yeah,
because I don't think any of those young blokes are quite ready yet. I don't think they're confident enough in Matt Parkinson because he can't bat.
Yeah,
this is the thing that always frustrates me with England and spinners. If you're the best spinner in England, if you can't hold a bat, if you're batting at 11, you're going to struggle to get in the Test side.
Yeah.
If Matt Parkinson could bat the same as Don Bess, Matt Parkinson would have been on this tour and he would have played cricket for Australia, against Australia. So I don't know where we go with Leach next. I don't know what they're thinking. If Bess plays in this last test, then it tells me a lot about what they're thinking, because Bess has obviously been there in the squad and carrying drinks for the series. So I don't know. What do you think?
I just don't think. I don't think they want him, mate. I don't think they want him. I don't think they're ready for Parkinson. They haven't got enough faith in him, and maybe they see some potential in him, and they know a bad run for a leg spinner playing in Australia can ruin your career. And it wouldn't surprise me if he winds up on a West Indies tour, or when we're back in England in the summer, we see him.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. Yeah,
a bit of preservation. So England 388 runs to win and 270 for 9. Incredible, enthralling finish to the game. You've touched on Zak Crawley being just brilliant. Actually, playing one of the most enjoyable innings I've seen from an England player. Genuine cricket shots against world-class bowling for a long, long time. And it was very different. Burns, Hameed, Sibley, they're almost looking to survive. And sometimes they could miss out on a 4-ball that's there because they're playing so insular. Whereas he looks very much the opposite, where he's backing himself. He knows his scoring shots, and now he's like, I'm going to score, I'm going to attack. And if it's not there, then he defends. And it just feels like a slightly different mindset to batting. And sure, there are technical issues. Yes, his bat is coming through from, second, third slip sometimes, but he's learning. And when it clicked, because his balance was generally better this innings compared to what we've seen, especially against New Zealand, where he really struggled, and his foot movement was better. The ball was coming on nice. He looked absolutely brilliant and gave me reason for optimism that Zak Crawley, the opener, is a thing, when I've been chirping on for the last year going, there's a reason he probably should bat in the middle order.
Yeah, Zak Crawley, he just looked a much better player, didn't he? I mean, you're not wrong to say in the past, let's look at his career without the 267, because obviously it was such an outlier, but he still scored that 267. This is the thing with him, isn't it? We can't take it away. He's a young guy. He's only 23 now, but even before that, he scored himself a massive, massive score for England. Not many people have done that. We're talking about players that have come into this team and actually achieved. He achieved with a massive, massive score. So it needs to be so. So the quality was always there. This innings, he just looked bigger. He just looked more solid. Suddenly the shoulders were a little bit higher up. They were pinned back a little bit more. Everything was a little bit more in line. He was just coming through and he just looked imperious, didn't he? You just know when someone's looking good. They just seem to grow a little bit taller, don't they, at the crease? Yeah. They're not squatted over and, looking like, sorry, Rory Burns.
What's the ceiling for Crawley as an opener? If you were to look at it, and I'm going to put numbers
in the world ever.
I'm going to put numbers on it. I'm going to say Zak Crawley, 5,000 Test match runs.
I've got no idea.
80 Test matches for England, 20 centuries, average 35, 36, strike rate of over 50. There you go. There's Zak Crawley in 10 years.
I'll take it. Look, he's a young player. 20. Let's have a look. He's nearly 24. He's not got 1,000 runs yet in Test cricket, 30 innings, averaging 28. All right. So we're a long way off, aren't we, at the moment? But he's a talented young player.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of talent. And when we look around, top of the order, and I'm not saying he's going to be an opener necessarily, but that top 3, I look around at the moment and there's nobody out there that's like, this is a lock at top 3. Malan's getting on in years. He's done okay, but he's not grabbed it. Haseeb, we know about that. Burns, Sibley, we know about that. Where else do you get? England will want Zak Crawley to be a key component of this test side for the next 5 years, 10 years.
Yep.
Same with likes of Ollie Pope and one or two others. They want them to be involved. And when England want a player to be involved, they will get more opportunities than not. There'll be other players that come in. Maybe Hameed fall into this camp where they might not be as convinced with him. I don't know. I just get a feeling. And he won't get as many opportunities as others, but other people will. So Crawley will get those opportunities. It's now up to him to have that consistency.
Yeah.
I don't want a player that gets 267 and then doesn't get 100. I want a guy that might get me 105 or, and then he gets a 50. I just need consistency. I need that floor to be higher with him.
Yeah.
So we know what we're going to get. And then we can start building around it. Something we spoke about last time we were together. This team is aging. Bairstow, Stokes isn't a young fella. Root's getting on there as well. It seems hard to believe that we can even talk about Joe Root as being anyone other than a young Joe Root. But we need young players to come into this test side now and learn the game and establish themselves whilst we have all these players in their 30s. Because who knows what their decisions might be. They might turn around at some point and say, that's me done, I've had enough. Yeah. We don't know, do we? So we need these young players in sooner rather than later. And that's why I don't want us to keep going back to these older players, the 28, 29, 30, 31, 32-year-old openers. I want some young players in this team. I want to see the likes of Harry Brook potentially get an opportunity, or Rob Yates, or the opener from Sussex, whose name escapes me, scored 1,000 runs opening the batting last year.
Tom Haynes.
Tom Haynes.
Yeah.
I want to see people like that take that next step and get the opportunity. So Zak Crawley, we need him to be in this team for the next 4 or 5 years going forward, maybe even longer, if we're going to rebuild this top order.
I like it. So there you go. 5,000 test match runs, Zak Crawley.
Lock it in.
Hameed struggled. This made the list. What next for? And this is kind of like the sneakily going under the radar as not doing too great. David Malan. 682, 80, 20, 14, 0, 3, 4. Now, it's going downhill at a rate of knots, mate. He averages 34 in Australia from the games that he's played over there, which is cool. He's done okay, averaging 34. He averages 23 in England, and he averages 19 in New Zealand. Are we going to... And I've been really impressed, but I've always been like this with David Malan, and I was like it with James Vince. When they're on, they look $1 million. But all I see at the moment is someone that throughout the series has just been worked out a little bit. He can't do anything with Nathan Lyon. They're bowling pretty good lines to him. They're tying him up. They're not bowling cover drives. And he's a great player. But is he a test match number 3? That's still my question. I had it at the start of the series, and I'm still here now.
Yeah, so he's 34 now, isn't he? He's got himself an average of 26, 209 runs with a high score of 82. So he's had 2 good 50s in this series, 1 duck. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think I'm going to probably answer it the way I've answered it in other ways when we're talking about what do England do. It's not necessarily what people are doing in the side at the moment, but who is there on the outside who can come in. Who's your number 3 instead of David Malan? That's the bigger question.
We haven't had one since Trot,
Yeah, so if Hameed had done well, Crawley potentially could be a number 3, because then you're slotting in an opener perhaps, because we might have an opener closer to coming into the team, a Yates or a Lees perhaps, than we have a number 3. This is the problem. Malan 34, if he, maybe he wants to have a test career over the next 2 or 3 years. So I wouldn't dismiss him out of hand. I'd probably say he's on the next tour. I think he's done enough. When he scored, he's looked okay. Apart from Bairstow's 100, he's probably got the second highest score just about, hasn't he? Maybe, well, apart from Joe Root, maybe. We always forget Joe. How can we forget Joe Root? We just assume so much that, from him, don't we? We assume he's always going to do well.
David Malan, 209 runs at 26, 250s. But we still say he's had a good tour. And we say Ben Stokes has had a bad tour, but Ben Stokes has got more runs.
I don't think Stokes had a bad tour. I think Ben Stokes it's took him a while to get back into Ben Stokes' form. He's done okay. I think that's the important thing. Malan's done okay for me. I don't think he's had a good tour. He started well, and he's had a couple of good scores, and he's looked okay, but he's not established himself. And this is the key, isn't it? We don't have consistency in performance from our batters. That's the biggest issue. A player can come into a test match and get an 80 and get a 50 or whatever, but it's about doing it back to back. And we don't have those players at the moment. If we get a 1 big score off someone, will we get it next innings? It's no guarantee. Australia, you see some of their players, that if they score in one test, they'll probably come again next test. That's the difference at the moment, and that's the concern for me. And yeah, who comes in, I don't know. We'll once this series is done, we'll start looking ahead to the next Test series, and we'll start trying to plot in a few people we think might be in with a shout of getting a call up, and see seriously after we step back and really, take a longer view of this series, who should be given up more opportunity, and who perhaps needs to be put to one side, and who's out there who can come in. James Vince, you've mentioned him. There'll be calls for him straight away.
There are
all the talking heads, all the pundits will be saying, "Get Vince back in, get Vince back in." Maybe it's the right thing to do, but I don't know.
Who knows? Who goes? You decide. Root goes. Bairstow and Stokes back really well again. Stokes made a really good 60 off 123 balls. Even though we were playing for a draw, I still appreciated the positivity around how we batted. Remember New Zealand, where we just shut up shop for a day and a half, and Dom Sibley scored 60. This wasn't that. This had more entertainment to it. Bairstow batted all right. Josh Butler's on his way home. This is what's next for Josh Butler time. He's on his way home. He smashed up his left hand. Ollie Pope came on and did some keeping and looked like a really decent keeper. Josh Butler this series, 39 in kind of like a bit of a positive streak with Ollie Pope in the first test, and a 23, 0, 26, 3, 5, 0, 11. Now, since he's come back into Test cricket, he averaged 44 in 2018, and everyone's like, Josh Butler, I knew it, white ball superstar. He averaged 25 in 2019, 38 in 2020, 25 in 2021, and 2022 has not started too great. He's a white ball superstar. He's wanted with high value. Any competition in the world would take him. Sneaky old again. He does fall into that category. He's won a lot. He's done the Ashes. He'll be 32 this year.
What next?
What next for Josh Butler?
What next? Well, immediately he's on his way home, isn't he? If he's not home already. Sam Billings, I really appreciated the little interview with Sam Billings. He's driven from Brisbane. He was going to jump on a flight home after a pretty good Big Bash time in Australia. He was going home back to England. Quick call, don't go to the airport, go to the Gold Coast airport. Instead, go and pick up a rental car and drive yourself 500 miles down the coast to Sydney. Had a night in Coffs Harbour, know it well, lovely little place. Hope he got the kayak out like I did. He had a little drive, to the coast in Newcastle to have a look at the beach. It's a really nice beach there. It's a lovely thing. He was driving down the A1 or whatever they call it in Australia. Lovely little road, nice little meander. He compared it, he said it's certainly not the M25. So he enjoyed his little drive. Billings spoke like a guy. So this is the immediate Josh Butler conversation, but Billings is going to hopefully come in. If you've brought him into the squad, told him he's not going home yet, he's going to drive down here, give him the gloves, for crying out loud. Ollie Pope did pretty well, but don't give Ollie Pope the gloves. Give Sam Billings this opportunity. He's 30. He's not played a lot of red ball cricket, but he's played a lot more than he used to, let's put it that way, over the last few years. He's got himself a couple of hundreds at least in county. He's becoming a much more well-rounded cricketer. He needs this opportunity, I think. I've not always been his biggest fan. He's never really clicked with me, but I'll just give him the opportunity. Folkes isn't here. If Folkes was here, obviously I'd want Folkes in there, but he's not. So give Billings the gloves. Do not give Bairstow the gloves. I want to see Bairstow as a batsman. I think we almost need to forget about Bairstow, the keeper at the moment. So give Billings the gloves and let's see how he goes. And I look forward to him getting that opportunity. As for Josh Butler, I think this...
Yeah, what do you think?
Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, is this it? Is this Josh Butler's Test career done? Because from watching on TV, he looked flat, man. He looked flat.
I'm looking at it from a couple of perspectives here. One, you made a really good point. He's probably one of the most in-demand white ball cricketers in the world. So he has a great fallback. Yeah. If he decides Test cricket isn't for him anymore, and he wants to just focus on white ball, that remove the pressures, because we've got to remember the last couple of years, as well paid as these guys are, and as lucky as they are for playing a game for a living, they've been in bubbles and lockdowns and all the rest of it for the last couple of years. They've been away from the families for a ridiculous amount of time. It's the same as when we're talking about an England coach. An England coach perhaps doesn't want to be a Test and white ball coach because of the time away. If Butler is doing all three formats for England, he's away from home a lot. He's got a young family now. I just wonder if he looks at the alternative and says, look, I could play half the amount of cricket and make twice the amount of money.
Yeah.
So why don't I step away from Test cricket, just play white ball cricket for England, play white ball cricket for Lancashire now, and then go around the world and play whatever I want to play, whenever I want to play it. He'll make himself a hell of a living. All right. I'm not one of those that says you should do all of this as quick as possible because it's a short career. Nobody's retiring these boys from life when they retire from sport.
Yeah.
But I understand why they want to make the most of it, but they don't have to go and chase all the money now because they don't have to retire from life.
Yeah.
So good luck to him if he does that. That would be a very reasonable take from him if he decides to do it. Test cricket, I'm not convinced. I never have been convinced of Josh Butler, even though he's one of the most talented players this country's produced in a long time. I just wonder if we are finally finding the point where we might be able to say, Ben Folkes, this is your opportunity. Billings, potentially, this is your opportunity. Yeah. Folkes is the younger, isn't he? I think he's 27, is he now? 28? He's younger than we think. Sneaky young.
Who's that, sorry?
Folkes.
I'm not sure, actually. I can't get past how good looking he is every time I look at him.
Yeah, Ed Smith wannabe.
Yeah.
So that's my take. I'm not saying I'm ruling it out. I'm not saying he's finished, but I don't think we'll see him. Because of this injury, he's going to give him time to consider his place.
Yeah.
And I think it will give time for the England setup to consider whether they go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Obviously, he won't be on the next tour, but when it comes to summer, will he be the wicketkeeper? I'm going to say no.
Okay.
What that means and how that decision has come about, I don't know. But I think when we hit the test series or first test match of the summer, I don't think he's going to be in the team.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's all my what happens next to section. But we know what happened next with England. They managed to hold on. Jack Leach batted superbly for his 26 off 34 balls. Johnny Bairstow, superb 41, scored about 150 runs in the match, was great. And I think this is where we started. Test cricket is brilliant. But I saw a great tweet going, if Test cricket was invented today and you said it would take 5 days in the modern era where people want everything within an hour or they want to watch something in 15 minutes, it could go on 5 days. It could rain and you end up with a batsman bowling at a batsman bowling at a bowler to try and win a test match at the end of the 5th day, and he bowls it halfway down and it ends up a draw, you wouldn't have a business model. But for all of that, it's absolutely amazing. And Stuart Broad, did you see his eyes, the focus on him when he's trying to just in the zone? And the Australian TV crew do a really good job and they switch off the commentary at times and just let you listen to the players when it's those moments. And all you can hear is Marnus just and you've got Broad walking away, coming back in, stealing, ready to play the forward defence, knocks it down, off he walks again, like he's on a treadmill. I'm off, get him a 10,000 steps in, back forward defence. He turned around to Jimmy Anderson that last over, and he's like, get a real good stride in, smother the ball. And Jimmy turned around to him and said, yeah, I've done this before, mate.
Yeah, I was just about to pull out the same thing, actually. I grabbed a screenshot of that same conversation. The way Jimmy Anderson spoke about it as well, he's like, mate, I've been here before. It's fine. I know how to bat.
But don't you think it's a case of how much it means? Like we saw with Bairstow, like we saw with Stokes. It's just,
love it.
Where's your bollocks? There's my bollocks.
Whoa. Apologies, people. Apologies. Rob's got excited. Hey, I absolutely love Stuart Broad's passion. Always have done. People will kind of, take the mick a little bit when he's don't trust him on an LBW appeal. He wanted to review everything, all that sort of stuff. But I love his passion. Always have loved his passion. And that's what it means. Jimmy's coming out there going, 5 balls, I'll be all right. I've done this before. I can do this. And that's brilliant. If Jimmy Anderson's in that sort of frame of mind, it's awesome. He was saying when he was sat on the balcony, he just had like the Barmy Army song just going around his head. He was just like tapping his feet, like listening to the Barmy Army singing. But Broady, just that's it. He's like, he wants it so much. And this is what frustrates me again, the start of the series. You pick Stuart Broad at Brisbane. You pick him in the first test, in the first innings against David Warner. What's the first battle you've got in that series? Who's England bowler against David Warner? Who do you want to fight him? Stuart Broad. Get Broady in that test match. I still won't understand it, Chris Silverwood, you numpty.
Rest and rotation. Not
that
playing
was not
formats.
rest and rotation. I was going to say rest and rotation. Jesus, someone needs to rest Chris Silverwood for a while.
We did.
Whoa, we don't wish it on anyone. But Broady should have been in there. Broady would have been there. He'd been on the front foot straight away, trying to take Warner's head off and knock him over.
Yeah.
Showed what it means to him still now. This test match, I think this test match might have saved Stuart Broad's test career. Not that he was going to be dropped, but I think in his own mind, I think there was a decision for him to make when he was on the plane coming home and when he got back to England. of whether or not he's going to continue his Test career. I'm not saying he would have retired straight away, but I think if he sees that he's going to be spending 3 or 4 months away from home and he might play 2 out of those 5 Test matches, he'll start to get to the point of going, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
We will have to look after him, same as Jimmy. But this is, give him 5 Test matches here and then don't let him go to West Indies. It's not complicated. That's how you rest and rotate. I'd rather not see him in the West Indies for those 3 Test matches and play 5 here than play 2 or 3 here and play 1 over there.
Yeah.
Just come on, mate. Come on, guys. I know it's different because you're resting in between tests, but he's still a fit guy. Yeah. He'll know his own body. You know yourself. I know when you get older with bowling, you know exactly how much you can cope with. I know we didn't play Test cricket, so it's a completely different thing. I've got no idea how they do this every day. But yeah,
still doing it. Still doing something. It's like, love it. Oh, I do a paper round when I'm 12. I know how many papers I can carry in my sack at one time before my shoulder falls off. Like it's
I never learned that lesson. I never learned that lesson. Over the fence.
Yeah. I'll take my £5, thank you. Or doing the shopping. You've walked into town and you've got 10 bags. That's one trip. But you won't do it the next day. You'll get rotated by Chris Silverwater.
I was once nearly in tears when I was at uni. It was about a half an hour walk back from the supermarket to where I lived. And I got like 3/4 of the way there and I just dropped the bags on the floor, went into the multi-pack of crisps, opened a packet of crisps out and just sat there eating, stood there on the street eating a packet of crisps, just going, I can't go any further.
I'm about done.
It was a bad day. I still had about another 10 minutes to go and it was like, I can't do this. Where's the bus? So, I made it. So.
That's funny. So 4th Test match, mate. We held on.
We did.
Just good. If you want good, this was good. This was Test cricket. My kid's gone to sleep. I've got the last session on the TV, and I'm just loving life. I'm just sat there going, "This is bloody brilliant."
Yeah, absolutely. And on both sides as well. Like I say, we spoke about the Khawaja moments as well. It's been a great series for if you were as a neutral. It's not been a series you want to watch for who's going to win. But for some of the cricket, some of the Australian cricket's been exceptional. Some of the English cricket's not been so good. Bowling's not been too bad. Batting hasn't been good enough. It's simple as that, isn't it, for England? But again, it just shows, we're going to have that huge post-mortem of what's to blame. County cricket's going to come into the under the microscope, isn't it? But we've started to show that these players can perform in these conditions. They have got the mentality. Maybe we need to look at how we schedule these tours. How can you go into a series when you're playing one game that then gets rained off against your mates? Yeah. That's not how you prepare for playing cricket in Australia. So before we start killing every single groundsman or killing every single county setup, and you mentioned your mate KP, we'll definitely get into the comments about county cricket. Because the biggest idiot around is still, congratulations, Kev Peterson, for what he said. Jesus Christ. We'll go into that another day, but no, Kevin. What you said is probably the worst possible example. And we'll go into that in more detail as well. But let's not kill county cricket. Let's look at the schedule and let's look at how we prepare ourselves for these series. And then we might get a bit different outcomes.
I think that's fair enough, mate. And probably it's a good segue to, hey, this is what's coming in the future. We're starting working through that podcast at the moment. And probably a good place to kind of pull the pin. We'll do a 5th Test preview when we've got some more information about what's going on with the teams.
Maybe we'll see.
And who's playing, who's not playing, who's got COVID, who's not got COVID. You make a great point. Actually, in the 4th Test preview, I did a section on going, how the hell is this series still on? Because any other country, England or Australia, haven't bothered touring them. South Africa, Pakistan, all these places. So, yeah, if you've got this far, guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you don't end up on our ones to watch and what happens next to list. And thank you for the great comments. They provide great entertainment and a great source of interaction between us. So if you've got any comments, leave it below. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to us. We're available on all podcast platforms. And you can catch us on Twitter at Leading Edge Pod. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.
Plonker.